first casualty of war is the truth. Mark Twain. Okay. Whoever said it, it was true. We thank him for saying that. So since we know the first casualty of war is the truth, and we know that there's a war being waged in Africa, there's a war being waged all over the world against the poor, against the colonized people, against the people of color, against people of certain religions, genders, etc. It's been an ongoing war. And as you know, war takes many forms. War takes many forms. Economic, spiritual, cultural, psychological. And we know the mainstream media is guilty of lying about Libya. We know the mainstream media is guilty of lying. They've lied about Iraq, about Afghanistan, about Pakistan, about Vietnam, about the Spanish-American War, and on and on and on. Hopefully today we can get some truth. Luckily today we have a person who's a politician who's not afraid to tell the truth. Because as you all know, most politicians are liars. Most politicians are controlled by corporate America. Politics in this country is so corrupt. It's basically about who gets the most money from corporate sponsorships. And it's a popularity contest. But we have Cynthia McKinney who's going to be here today, and she's going to give a testimony on what's happening. Yes, so we know, I'm a representative of a coalition that was put together kind of hastily to bring Cynthia McKinney to town. And she's on this worldwide tour after coming from Libya to expose the atrocities that are going on in this conflict. Thank you very much. So today, we're going to have a few people speak, and we're going to have some cultural presentations. And of course, we have the drummers over here on my right, where they're playing music. Do you know have a name, or it's just the brothers who drum in the hood? You assisted them, the best drummers. We're glad to have Sister Cynthia McKinney here. Give her a round of applause. She has put her life on the line for many different causes. She put her life on the line to support the Palestinians and their human rights. She put her life on the line. She rode on this boat, the Flotilla 2, I believe the name of it was, when the Zionist forces attacked the boat. Occupied Palestine. She's put her life on the line for the poor people in the United States of America, being a member of Congress. Because if you're a member of Congress, most people in Congress are corrupt to the bone. And anytime you try to tell the truth in Congress, they attack you, they try to destroy you, physically, spiritually, in any kind of way they can. They will try to destroy you if you tell the truth. If you come out against the Zionist policies of this government. So we are so glad to have her here. She's put her life on the line for Africa, going to Libya, to get an eyewitness account of what's going on in that conflict. And now she's here with us today, so we're so glad to see you. Thank you very much. So we have Drew Kahar, chairman of the New Black Panther Party, Cleveland chapter, as well as many different organizations, a strong freedom fighter who I love and adore, and I'm so glad to work with. Brother Kahar.
It's an honor to be here, and I'd like to start about right. I don't know where. I like to. They're loud enough. They're loud enough.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this time. First, I'd like to everybody in the greetings of Umoja, simply unity. With unity, we get peace. Assalamu alaikum. It's proper for me to give honor to the Creator who has blessed us to be here, to come together, to hear the real side of what has happened, what has happened. But in respect, I got to call Dr. Williams. Would you like to put the camera down a little bit and then the brother come on up here and say something?
As you can see, I have many jobs. One of the things that I try to do as the Director of Black Studies here at Cleveland State is to bring varying points of views to the table. Because our slogan here at Cleveland State is engage learning. And the only way you can engage learning is actually to engage from different perspectives. It doesn't mean you have to agree or disagree with the information, but you do have to hear in order to make an informed decision. So we bring all kinds of people to the table to speak to you and support the program to me, really with your work. And I said, you know, we have to take advantage of that opportunity to bring. I always tell Brother Carr, bring these programs, and I'll be unemployed. Well, I guess I'll be a permanent that kind of party. But again, it's our pleasure in terms of doing the things that we're doing. We just instituted a new major in Black Studies, because one of the things we recognize here at Cleveland State, at least in our community, there is no cavalry coming to rescue Black people. That we have to train our own individuals to look at things from our perspective and solve problems. Einstein once said, the person that created the problem is not the person that can solve the problem a lot of times. And so sometimes we experience problems that other people have created for us, but we're the ones that have to figure out the solutions to those problems. And so tonight is just one of those instances where someone here is bringing a different perspective. You hear other perspectives that will come forward. And so, again, I want to thank Brother Carr and the hard work and all the committee members and all the people who made this event happen. Here at Cleveland State, one of the things I tell people is that these facilities that you're sitting in, these are your facilities. These are your tax dollar facilities. So you should have our opportunity to use these facilities when you need to use them. So we open up the community, we open up this to the community to allow for you to use right from yours. So again, I want to thank you all for coming out this evening. I want to thank Ms. McKinney for taking time out of her busy schedule to include Cleveland in one of her 21 cities. I think we owe her the debt of gratitude, because in the struggle, somebody always pays the price. For many of us who sit and watch and observe what's going on, there's others who are out there in the battlefield. And I watched her during the struggles in Congress, and I said, now that has to be a strong sister who's dealing with a lot of craziness that you see happen. And so again, we want to make sure that we keep this open. Hopefully you support the programs we have. Join our website. We're in the process of redoing our website. There's a number of programs that's coming up that I think you will like and be involved with. If you have ideas that you would like to see us do, please bring them to me and we will review them and we'll see if we can make those happen. So again, I'm going to turn this back over to Brother Carr.
First of all, there's many individuals and organizations that make this possible. And when I open up in the word of unity, it's not a ritual that I say unity. It's from my heart that we must have unity to deal with what we're dealing with. I got a list of organizations and I'm waiting for that list to come up. I left it out there, somebody's going to get it. I'd like to get a rock to do it. Because we are family, the body needs the head needs the heart needs the liver needs the intestine needs everything, even bowel kind of roll. So,
every part come together. I'd like to recognize all African people representing the party, Black on Black, Canvassing, Cleveland Peace Action, Cleveland State University Black Studies Department, Black Student Union, African Student Association, and definitely History Media Congress, the Hicks, Real People Movement, Nuclear Uprising Freedom Network, the Almighty Nation of Islam, the New Black Panther Party Cleveland Link, the Oppressed People Nation, Peace in the Hood, Assalamu Alaikum, People Fight Back Center, the UCC Justice Ministry, the University Negro Improvement Association, the African Community League, the Honorable Martin Messiah Group, the Workers' World. If there are any other organization that's present, you can stand, be recognized. Could you stand, sir? Would you with?
The Palestine Right to Return Coalition.
Yeah, right on. Yes, sir.
DSCF1655, Greater Cleveland Arab American Association.
Yes, sir. I like it. Right on, my brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everybody else. Cold thing. Right on. Everybody else. Right on. Everybody else. Somebody? Yes. Right on. Everybody else. Yes.
The U.S. Libya Coalition. We run a vigil every Friday at Federal Building ever since March 19th when this fiasco started.
That's right. I have 10 a couple of those in front of the Federal Building, and we have received great support from people who's coming by, supporting our stand against the NATO organization. So this is good. So the North Atlantic terrorist organizations know that we are here. I can put these people together. If they're all, we're going to move quickly because one of the
American Friends Service Committee.
right on. Everybody else. Yes, right on. Everybody else. Hand right on the wall. Green people. Right on. Right on. Everybody else. Well, one of the reasons that we wanted to use this classroom because we're not looking at this as a rally or a place where we can just, get up and talk. We want to have our sisters brief us and bring us into some information, and we want everybody to be studious about this. So we see what happens, but we see what the media projected. But we have to be very careful because years ago, Chairman Mao Zedong told us that imperialism was a paper tiger, and I never could understand that for a long time. I thought it simply means that you can take them and tear them up. In other words, it simply means that imperialism is dangerous when it comes to propaganda. And that propaganda, if we deal with it, then we see that this paper tiger projects itself to be a tiger with nothing but paper. So we've been listening at the news, and we've been hearing what is said on the news in terms of Libya. Well, we have a teacher here today that we've been blessed with that will give us some insight behind the line, deep in depth. And we will have, everybody here will have a chance to question, answer. So we want to make this a classroom setting. A classroom setting. Where we come here to learn and take back what we heard. So first I'll start off to give a little history of it. You heard a little bit from the brothers this way.
once again. Hands off Libya. Africa must be free. 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 Thank you for that great chant. We developed this chant as we have been doing this picket line down at the Federal Building on East 9th and Lakeside. And the reason why we say that is because we know the freedom of Libya is tied to the freedom of Africa. We know that Africa's freedom is tied to the freedom of the masses of people in the world. But like Ahmed Sekou Touré, the first president of Guinea says, he's a revolutionary Pan-Africanist, by the way, he says that once you liberate Africa, you liberate the whole of humanity. How can he say this? He understands clearly that the system that dominates the world today, the system that's called capitalism today, and which he calls the anti-human class, was built on the blood and sweat of African people. During that time period, there was called the African slave trade, and it wasn't a trade, and it wasn't created by Africans. It was the enslavement of hundreds of millions of African people by the European colonial powers. And what it did was it enriched these European colonial powers and America so that they became wealthy and powerful. There's still this war being waged against Africa. This is still the same situation today in the sense that the economies of Europe and America still depend heavily on Africa. They know for a fact that if we cut the resources off of Africa for a week, Europe and America will collapse. And by the way, if you've been paying attention, it's collapsing as we speak anyway. So in order to understand the conflict in Libya, you must understand the history of Africa as a whole. After this time period in which Africans were enslaved by the millions, which is called the Scramble for Africa, the European colonial powers had a meeting in 1884 and 1885. It was called the Berlin Conference. This is where they decided on which European country would get which part of Africa and other parts of the world. And in this process, this is where all the borders and all the nation states of Africa came into being. Thus, you had the creation of Libya. The Italians were given Libya to colonize. And of course,